Okay, hello, good morning, and welcome. This video is to show you how to get started on the assignment where I ask you to animate the logo of your own school. And in this case, on our campus, we are the Sea Kings. I'm going to start from the beginning and play this guy. So it starts off with a little banner animation. I have text. Sea Kings flying in. Very cool. Also, the Sea King guy just kind of comes from, some sort of circular ocean thing with a wave animation behind it. Yeah. The only rules here are do not make it look like Z-Barths. There are ideas I definitely want you to borrow, but I do not want you to end up with kind of the same thing. I want to get us away from the ball bounce animation where we all have a ball bouncing in and out of a room. Of course, this is going to be pretty much a logo bouncing around your composition, but there's a lot of things that you can change up. I have provided the Sea King font. You do not have to use this, but do not use something too crazy. If I see some crazy font that you're using that is particularly garish, I might tell you to maybe think about changing that font. You don't have to use a circle. You don't have to use waves in the background. Maybe you want to have like a shark fin or something, or a crown would be kind of cool, or maybe go with the trident theme and have the trident behind him. Another thing you definitely do not have to use, whoops, let me fit this guy, is the circle. So I kind of tried to make it look pretty much exactly how the logo looks. Sorry, it's really early in the morning right now. As you can see, it's actually 6:49 a.m. So yeah, here we go. So how I would start if I were you, I want to do another example, but I'm going to use a triangle to frame this particular gentleman here. So let's start by making a new comp. And this is where I'm going to tell you what sorts of settings to use. There's the bell. We'll call this CDM logo for my composition name. And I would like you to use a preset this time. It is this option here, HDV HDTV 720. And the frame rate is a little different. It's 29.97. Let's see. Yeah, I just want this to be bigger. And I'd love for this to be played on like a TV someday. So at the risk of having a larger file size, we're going to work with 720 animations today. Okay. So 1280 by 720 square pixels, 29.97. Resolution is full, and then the duration here is going to be, I would start with 5 seconds, just to give yourself some room to work. You might end up trimming it later. Mine ended up being about 5 seconds. So yeah, background color, whatever you choose. Click OK. Awesome. Yeah. So the first thing I want to do is get the Sea King in here. So I'm going to go to the Finder and navigate, which I've already navigated to. I have the Sea King file here. I'm going to quickly add it. I have another video on how to add this, but basically here's my Sea King mascot. I'm going to click and drag it into my project panel here. So now I have the mascot. Looks like I already did that. Here he is. And what happens when you click and drag down into the timeline, it will create a layer, and I've now got this vector art, which I want to change into a shape. It gives us more control over the animation, so we're going to right click on this layer and choose, let's see, oh, here we go, create shapes from vector layer. So that creates kind of a duplicate, and you have your old, kind of the original file here that's now hidden. It hides automatically. And here we go. And it's going to add on this outlines thing for you. So I'm going to now select the original and delete it from my timeline. So now I've got a nice scalable animation that I can blow up, zoom in on, and it's going to look great. So that is how you would get the guy in here, the mascot himself. Let's shrink this down, holding down Shift always so I don't flatten him. I'm going to put him in the middle. So basically how you're going to start the animation is the first step is design the layout first. So pretend you're at maybe 3 seconds halfway into the animation, and this is where, in my case, if I go back to my, let's see, I have my original here, whole thing. So the way I started was I kind of laid this out first. So I started with the mascot, I made the circles around him, I put the waves behind that, I made a mask to hide the waves where they aren't around the circle, which I'll show you how to do in another video. But yeah, so first step, design this, and then you're going to design the animation that leads into this. So again, we're working backwards here. So I'm going to go back to my CDM logo comp, and let's add a triangle, which I haven't shown you how to do. There is no triangle tool here, so here's a polygon tool. We'll click and hold. I've got polygon, ellipse, rounded rectangle, rectangle, star. So a triangle is a polygon, right? We're going to use this tool, and I'm going to go ahead and just click and drag out a polygon, hold down the Shift key, and we're going to have to look in the shape layer here that was just created, and there is a contents little twirly here, and under there is a polystar. So the contents of this layer is a polystar. I'm going to open up this twirly, and the next thing you have to do is look under polystar path, and this is where we have control of how many points there are in the shape. So I will click there and triangle. I think that's 3, right? So I'll hit 3 and return, and now I have a nice triangle here. Beautiful. So let's blow it up. I'm going to use my selection tool and click and drag this while holding down the Shift key, and kind of just frame this how you think he should be framed. Do him justice. Looks kind of cool. That might be a little too big. We can always adjust the stroke here too. All right, make it a little smaller. Okay. This is kind of a purple color. Let's change this to something more appropriate for our school. I think that was that. Okay. So yeah, let's look in our layers here. I'm going to select the shape layer that I just made, hit return on the keyboard, call it triangle, and then close that. So now I've got my triangle layer on top and seeking outline my mascot. So I'm going to go ahead and select this and hit return. Seeking outlines is kind of not a very cool term, I think. So I'm going to call this mascot. Hit return. And to me, the most glaring problem here is that the seeking is behind the triangle when he should be bursting forth from it. So I'm going to click mascot layer and drag it up above the triangle layer. There we go. Nice. Dum, 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 dum. Let's blow this up a little bit, holding down the Shift key. So I don't know, look how cool it is. It's like Illuminati, right? Feel free to add eyeball in the background or whatever. You crazy kids. So let's see. All this is kind of too big now, because if we're going to have seekings below it, we need more space. So I'm going to click and drag over both of these guys. And then now I can click and drag on the corner. Hold down Shift, so I'm not stretching them out. See if I hold down Shift, let go of Shift, hold down Shift. There we go. Move this up. Awesome. Yeah, from here, let's add my seekings text. So I'm going to use my horizontal type tool, and I think it's called Opta something, the seeking font. Look under Avenir. Let's see. A lot of fonts. Oh, it's this Opti Althea Bold 2. So that was a font I found. That was the closest thing I could find. Whoops. Whoops. Oh my gosh. There we go. Click down here. Type in C. Kinks. Right, so you can kind of see where this is going. Very cool. Move this over. It used to be like growing up in the 80s, early 90s, there was a TV show called A Current Affair, and it was like a tabloid news show, and they have this triangle that would burst in. It'd actually be kind of interesting to watch now. It was a old school 3D animation. Anyways, but I digress. Let me highlight this. And so if I want to use the same color font here as something that I already have here in my composition, I can by using the eyedropper. That looks too light. Let's try this darker blue. We'll just go with this at first. Okay. In my animation, I think I had it. We can swap this, right? So right now the fill is this dark blue, and then there is no stroke. I can click on these little arrows. So now I have stroke, but no fill. Yeah, go crazy with this stuff. Experiment, make it look different. I really like the triangle, so you definitely can use a triangle. I saw another student do something a little different, and she, let's see, close the triangle, did a like a portrait, you know, like if you take a picture of someone and the frame is horizontal, it's shot in landscape, but if you shoot it vertically, it's shot in portrait. So they did this kind of interesting frame, something like this, like so. So I don't know. I'll move this layer down. Maybe even make it thicker, like that. That also works. Yeah. So I did want to kind of remind you how to add a wave out of the provided Adobe Illustrator files I gave you. So I'm going to go back to my Finder. And in this case, I've got these waves. Let's see. My JAWS waves here. I'm going to click and drag this into my project panel. So because I have multiple layered document, it's going to ask me to either import everything merged or to choose an individual layer. And the way I've organized these Illustrator files is that if I select choose layer, I have like a front, a middle, and a back. So we're gonna have to do this 3 times. So I'm gonna click front. So now I have one color that I can drag down here and put behind the, oh, we're gonna convert it to a shape, remember? So I'm gonna, here's my Adobe Illustrator file, right click, create shapes from vector layer. This lets you animate it in a way that is familiar to you. I'm gonna put this behind my mascot. Okay. But the biggest problem is that it is kind of not in a good way expanding beyond my border here. So we need to make a mask, a track mat to kind of hide the rest of this here. And I'm going to do that by copying this. Let's do the triangle. So I'm going to hide this. Go back to the triangle. So I'm going to hide this extra wave stuff behind the triangle. To do that, we're going to copy the triangle. So I'm going to select my triangle layer, do Command D, move it above my waves. Okay. And then I'm going to tell my JAWS waves here, which I'm going to rename right now, Wave 1. And I'll rename Triangle 2, Mask 1. And then look under the Track Mat option here and choose Alpha Matte Mask 1. If you don't see this track matte option, you have to click on the Toggle Switches and Modes button here. So it might look like this. If it does, click on this Toggle Switches. We're going to tell the wave to use the mask as a track matte. So under the Wave 1 layer here, choose Alpha Matte Mask 1. And now it is only going to work, not in this situation. I'm doing something wrong here. Let's see. Oh, okay. The reason is that the mask needs a fill. I didn't have a fill here. What alpha means is wherever there is pixels, like blue pixels here, is where it's going to show through. And I also, yeah, so let's go back to my mask. I'm going to undo this track matte thing. No track matte. Go to this mask 1 layer, and I'm going to fill it with whatever color. It doesn't matter because it's going to disappear. Like so. Now choose under the wave layer here, track matte, alpha matte, mask 1. Beautiful. Now I have my wave behind the mascot and it's not showing anywhere else. So I'm going to repeat that because I noticed that I kind of messed up there. So delete my mask, show my wave. Okay, so remember I dropped my wave here. I need to use the triangle layer here. I'm going to copy it because I want this to be the mask. So we'll do Command D to copy triangle. Rename this so I know it's going to be a mask. You can even be really specific. Mask for wave 1. Okay? And it needs to go above the thing that you're trying to kind of hide, right? And then very importantly, there needs to be a fill on this. So I'm going to go under fill, choose a color. There's pink, right? And man, let me tell you, that color combination is actually pretty awesome because it uses the original seeking colors, but then it drops this like complementary color to really make it pop, right? So, but in this case, I don't want, maybe you want to do your waves this color or something, I don't know. So now we're going to tell wave 1 to use mask for wave 1 as a track matte. So go under where it says wave 1, under track matte, choose alpha matte, mask for wave 1. Pink is going to go away, but now I have a wave here that will only show behind here. So I'm going to hide the mascot so you can see this effect a little better. Yeah, kind of cool. Notice though, actually, if I change the color of this wave, let's do the pink thing here. Yep. So I do have one problematic thing in that it's also kind of not, it doesn't look like it's behind this blue stroke here. So I need to change the order of things. First of all, my triangle, I should probably rename this to triangle frame. Move this above those layers. Now it's hiding behind the mask. So very cool. Oh, I'm moving the mask. There we go. Oops. Let's move the wave around. So yeah, you can see. So imagine the possibilities here with these masks. I have the option of either animating the wave here, so I can have like a little rolling motion here. But maybe you'd want to animate the mask instead, and that will kind of show you, imagine revealing something by animating a mask in this way. So yeah, that's it. This video went on a little long, but that's kind of how I started building my animation. So good luck out there.